Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Paying your bills can sometimes be an art. In the first story, we'll give you an example. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Tax payment. When I was in my early 20s, I worked as a bank teller. We got a check sent to us from the local city office that they received for payment of income taxes. The amount was for just a few dollars. What was so unusual about this check is it was written on a chunk of asphalt. It had all the necessary information required, accounting number, routing number, payee, etc., so we had to honor it. Apparently this person was mad about having to pay taxes to the city. Not sure why, it was 30 years ago and I don't recall. Will banks still accept checks written in non-traditional ways, such as a napkin? I read a story once of a check in England written on the side of a cow. And our second story. I got fired, but you cleaned the bathroom. My very first job that wasn't for a friend or family member lasted less than 72 hours. It was a Midwestern burrito chain. The place they bob your burrito at? It was my first closing shift ever. That meant 3 a.m. as we were a college town and it was a Saturday. We're literally under the 3-minute mark to close and most of the steak's gone. The cook's gone back to get a start on dishes and the manager and team lead are nowhere to be found. It's me doing my first closing shift, the cook, pretty sure he was an alcoholic in his 50s, still working minimum wage, and the cashier chick, a girl I knew from high school and was super senior hippie chick. In walks 3 jerks and 2 Karens drunk. Jerk 1, steak burrito. Karen 1, veggie rice burrito. So on until Jerk 3 asked for a steak burrito as well. Cashier chick already used the last of the steak for burrito 1. She apologized, informed him we're out of steak and offered a replacement. Jerk 3 was having none of it and started whining for a manager, a discount, and for extra steak. You know, the steak that Jerk 1 was munching down? In fact, Jerk 1 even said it was bullcrap we didn't cook more steak for them while munching on the last of the steak. It's 10 minutes after close and the cook walks out the back as he'd finished all the dishes and tools. I know it was exactly 3:10 a.m. when he left because the CCTV video I was forced to watch as I was getting fired the next day. Anyway, he eventually went with chicken and all 5 of them left to wait for a taxi. Yes, this was before Uber. We finished cleaning, I'm heading to the doors to lock them, and Jerk 3 walks back in saying he had to use the restroom. I follow him back to the restroom because I have to clean it again after he uses it. The district manager was known to watch the cameras and have the manager rip into us if the last time someone left the bathroom wasn't the person cleaning. As he walks out, he smiles at me and says, "Good luck." I poke my head in the bathroom and it's destroyed. He'd thrown his burrito against the ceiling, urinated everywhere, and ripped off the towel dispenser, broke the changing table, and plugged the toilet. I snap. I drop the mop and charge over to Jerk 3, burst in front of him and lock the door. I lost my crap and started screaming at him and herded him back into the bathroom. Many threats of violence and calling the police at the same time. I still never touched him. I made Jerk 3 clean the bathroom, though he didn't do a great job, and then I let him out. A taxi van picks them up and they leave. I finished cleaning the dining room before heading back to the bathroom to fix and clean what that Jerk 3 missed. When I come out, there's 2 police officers knocking on the door. I unlock and open the doors. The police come in and start to question me about the night's events. I explain what happened and show them the bathroom with burrito on the ceiling and broken items. They ask if I threatened the man. I refused to answer directly and talked about the mess and damage. They asked to speak to a manager, and I exploded. I said, "I'm the last one here, and I can't even lock the back door or set the alarm. I haven't seen my team lead or manager since shortly after I got there at 8:30 p.m., and then asked if I could just go home, slightly out of breath and clearly frustrated. To my surprise, they said yes, and that they'd get in touch with the manager or owner and gave me his card. I went home and went to sleep, looking forward to my day off to catch up on some college homework. Yeah, I didn't get a job until college. I know, shame on me for that. Nope, next day I'm woken up by my phone and it's the district manager demanding I go in immediately. I show up, he takes me into the manager's office where he and the manager are. They're very PO'd. They both start ripping into me and asking what happened. I explain what happened and they cut me off saying they know what happened, they saw and heard it on the video, but why in the world did I force Jerk 3 to clean it? I really didn't have an answer other than because he made the mess and he did it because we didn't have steak. Then I mentioned that it was my third day and we had no leadership on duty. I was fired. And our next story. Well, that kind of backfired. This is a short one. At work, they insist on reporting any and every injury. I always told them it's kind of a waste of time, don't you think? Their line of thinking, yeah, don't get me started on how thinking works on that side of the wall, is the way they can find trouble spots and maybe fix it before a major injury occurs. And when I say they want every injury, they say even if it happened at home and you knocked the scab off at work, it should be reported. Enter the malicious part. I noticed a small scrape on my thumb. I mean small. The only reason I saw it is because it was red. No blood, just red. So I go to HR, report it. I show it to her. She looked at it, looked at me, looked back at it, and then just shook her head. She said, okay, and handed me at least 4 forms to fill out. Where did it happen? How did it happen? What was I doing when it happened? Yeah, 20 minutes wasted filling out paperwork on a tiny little scrape. Oh well, at least I got paid to do it. Won't do it again unless I lose a finger. That did happen to one guy. And our last story. You want to lose your job? All right, sign here. I work in accounting and my assistant is out on this particular day, so I'm working on invoicing. While doing invoicing, I come across a work order that has a higher expense amount than invoice amount. Realizing we'll be losing $100 on the job, instead of at least breaking even, I decide to question the project manager, Paul, about it. Me. Hey, I noticed this job has an anomaly. Can you explain it to me? Paul. What are you talking about? See the expenses? They reach a higher total than the amount you want me to bill for. I want to see if that was a mistake or... No, it's right. If that's right, we're going to lose money on this job. You won't get commission and... I'm telling you it's right. Paul then rips the papers from my hand. See, we charge a 20% markup right here. He points to the wrong spot and has the audacity to look smug. See, it's fine. I calmly take the papers back and show him 2 amounts side by side. I see that, but you didn't account for that over here for the billing amount. The total billing amount is less than that. Look, it's right, and I don't have time to explain it to you. Just do it and stop bothering me. No problem. Can you just initial here so when our boss asks me why this job is invoiced so low, I can, sure, fine, whatever. He signs his name next to the billing amount. Now get out of my space. I go back to my office and invoice the too low amount. I sent it off, fully knowing this was going to backfire and kept all backups and copies handy for when it did. Next Monday, I have the boss in my office. The invoice in question is in his hand. Boss, hey, you did this invoice wrong. Shows me the invoice. Me. Actually, if you look at the backup, Paul told me that was the invoice amount. I showed him where Paul signed off. Boss, I'll be right back. He left my office. Roughly an hour later, I get called into the boss's office. Paul's there, looking uncomfortable, and my boss is on the phone. He waved me inside, and I sat down. Boss, all right, we're all here. Now, Tandy Angie, please explain this to me. Me. I noticed that the expenses on this invoice were higher than the billing amount. Paul told me that the numbers were fine and to just do the invoice. Boss, hear that, Tex? Tex is the subcontractor we used on this job? Yup, so what are we going to do? Boss, the only thing to do is fire them. They're either incompetent or cheating us. Either way, it's bad for business. I'm now very concerned for my job, but I sit silently. I know I don't have the whole story yet. Well, I reckon you're right, Tex says. Good luck, and don't worry about the park job. I got an opening up tomorrow I can squeeze in. Boss, thanks, Tex. He hangs up the phone and turns to Paul. Paul's gone from nervous to mad. It's not my fault she can't do her job. Boss, you signed your name right next to the wrong amount. Now you're either working with someone in accounting over in Tex's company to steal from me, or you're too stupid to work here. Which is it? Paul stands, as does my boss. I stood as well, not liking being the only person sitting. Paul says nothing. Boss, you're fired. Get your computer and leave. Boss turns to me. Go ahead and fill out the paperwork for his leave. Make sure to add that he attempted to embezzle money. I nod and leave. Paul stays there. As soon as I leave, the office explodes in screaming. I stay in my office doing the paperwork my boss asked me to fill out. I saw Paul leave later with the stuff thrown haphazardly into his bag. That was the last time I saw Paul. A friend saw him working at a cash register at a buffet place about a month later. Turns out both my boss and Tex had agreed to lower their markups for the job, so the invoice number was still too high, not too low. But I didn't know that until after the fact when my boss had me redo the paperwork for the entire job. Someone from accounting in Tex's company had altered the invoice sent to Paul, and they were planning on splitting the difference after we paid the altered bill. When someone asks you, "Are you sure?" multiple times, maybe, just maybe, you ought to take a step back and think about it for a minute. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.